Namaste, everyone. It's great to be here in a room full of givers. We could not have imagined this 25 years ago. So I always like to begin when we come to Dasra by clapping for ourselves. Let's give us a big hand. Really, I mean that. Look at this room. Thank you. I'm assuming almost everyone here is very critically interested in either being a donor, learning how to be, or in some way deeply involved with the social sector or strengthening the social sector. And it's great to be here at this point in the history of Indian philanthropy where almost anything is possible. First of all, I'd like to say I'm delighted as always to be here at the annual Dasra Philanthropy Forum. I've been coming for a few years. And we should all really toast Dasra because brick by brick, step by step, they have worked extremely diligently to build up the sector. And as you can see, are having tremendous impact year on year. And may they do better and better as time goes by. So thank you, Deval. Thank you, Neera. Thank you, all the teams, Gayatri, everyone else. Thank you for doing what you do and keep doing it. So a big hand to you all. The subject of this year's forum is collaboration in philanthropy. And I think it's a very important thing. And it shows the maturity of this forum that we have now come to talk about how do we, not just how do we give, but how do we give together. And I think that's a very important point in this journey. Having said that, me being me, I'm going to first say that collaboration for collaboration's sake doesn't mean anything at all. So I wouldn't say that we must, I wouldn't say, there are people who say, oh, you know, the biggest problem in the NGO sector and the philanthropy sector in India is that people don't work together for scale. I don't think that's the biggest problem in either Indian philanthropy or in the Indian NGO sector. I think there are many more metrics by which we must judge the sector. And no, just like you don't judge the corporate sector by saying, are there mergers and acquisitions? Because we know that many philanthropists like to operate alone. They are best operating alone. They have an idea of what they want to do, and they are very effective at doing it. Similarly, NGOs, and we have a million good, well, several lakhs of good NGOs in India, who perhaps work in their own small niche areas, but are terribly, terribly connected in a wonderful way to the community that they serve, and are able to do good work in a way which you could not do at a different scale. So I think we should respect that a million NGOs working in small ways and a million philanthropists doing what they do best is also a kind of scale. It may not be collaboration in a technical sense, but it is scale. And that's why that kind of individual passion, that kind of individual innovation is what has led India to have the most thriving and diverse social sector perhaps anywhere in the world. So we should celebrate that as well. Having said that, I think we have reached a stage now where as both NGOs and philanthropists mature, they realize that nobody has all the answers, no individual entity has all the answers, and that to be truly creative in extremely complex times, when problems seem to always run ahead of the solutions, if we put our heads together, perhaps we could innovate in a different way. So I'm happy to now talk about the power of collaboration. I was very lucky when I started out as a philanthropist in a serious way in 1999. I used to do some dabbling in philanthropy. Before that, we never called it such a fancy word as philanthropy at that time. We just gave forward because we had some surplus, and we thought it was our obligation, moral obligation, and a strategic imperative as citizens to do so. But I was very lucky that my first activist philanthropist role came in the Pratham network, which at the get-go was about collaboration and scale. So already there were multiple NGO institutions within that, and there were already multiple donors. So I came into a platform where there was collaboration built into the design. And I think that that's very useful to experience with all its, little bit of chaos and mess, because everyone sometimes pulling in different directions, and yet combined to one simple single goal: every child in school and learning well. I think when you have one big banner vision like that that everyone can align to, it really helps. Even if you have different pathways to that goal, it really helps a lot of people to come together and work. So my multiple year experience in the Pratham network, first as chair of Akshara Foundation, which was the Karnataka chapter, then as the founder of Pratham Books, which I helped to steer for 10 years, and also with the Pratham board itself, I saw how strong leadership combined with genuine collaboration can build up one of the world's largest and most effective NGOs. So there are a lot of lessons to learn from how to do that. As I said, this scale was built in from the get-go in the design itself, and that is one way of achieving quick collaboration. But I'll tell you, this collaboration stuff is not at all easy. All of us have our egos. All of us want to have our imprint on what we do. Especially new philanthropists want to say, you know, I know how to solve a problem. I'm going to do it my way. And so after having been through the Pratham network, I felt that I had to also try something on my own. And so I set up Argyam, which is a foundation that for the last 12 years has been working on water and sanitation. We work all around the country. We've made many early mistakes, and I think now we have consolidated around 2 big programs on water quality, on 3 big programs on water quality, on groundwater, which is one of the biggest things that we all ought to be interested in India, and sanitation. And while I said first, you know, it's much easier to run my own foundation with my own money, then I don't have to worry about collaboration, which takes so much institutional overheads and time and compromise and whatnot. So it worked well for 5 years. But as soon as you get deep into the heart of any problem, you realize that you simply can't do it on your own anyway. That the problem cannot be solved by you or your team, and collaboration becomes the essence of solution finding, of solutioning in any space at all. And so over the years, Argyam has built many, many collaborations. First with a lot of NGOs, we've created several networks where multiple NGOs have come together. For example, in our participatory groundwater management program, in our water quality networks. Now we have started an India-wide springs initiative where we are looking at India's springs, which are the source of water for so many million mountain people, and which are disappearing by the day because we are not looking at the catchments, we are not looking at the quality of water. So to take on something big like that, you essentially need to design collaborative frameworks, both of the people who are going to do the implementation and people who are going to bring in the resources. So my ego got very quickly humbled in Argyam, and we realized that this doesn't do. You have to go out and get help. You have to get extra help. Neither do you have all the answers, nor do you have all the required skills in your own team to do what it takes to really solve a problem. Argyam is now partnering with the Tata Trust as well as Bill Gates Foundation and several other small donors to do this kind of work all around the country. So I think eventually you have to collaborate, but you need to reach that point in maturity to be able to do so. You have to do it out of conviction, not because somebody told you to, not collaboration for collaboration's sake, because collaboration seems to be the way forward to get the results that you want, the outcomes that you want. I think yesterday and day before there were corporations here, if I'm not mistaken, and yesterday all the foundations got together here and also discussed the same topic. Should we collaborate? What are the difficulties? I'm sure the team will be talking to all of you, those of you who were not here for the last 2 days, about what was discussed and just how difficult it is to collaborate. So I won't go into that. But I'll say that there are 5 kinds of collaboration that I think are possible going forward in India in this philanthropy and social sector today. One is where you have an existing organization which many different philanthropists, and I think there are a lot of family philanthropy members here. So suppose some of you said, here's a great organization, why don't we all fund it? That's the least amount of collaboration required, because all you have to do is write checks and get interested in the story of that organization and talk to each other about how you're enjoying that collaboration. So that's one form of collaboration where an existing organization, multiple donors, stay in touch, help to strengthen that organization and make it better. There are lots and lots of examples of that, Pratham being one, Pradhan being another. All the big traditional NGOs of India have followed that model. I think the second model is where one donor comes in and starts out an institution and invites other donors to come and join. The donor may not say, you need to completely align with my vision, etc. The donor says, this is what I'm setting up, this is why I'm setting it up. Please join me if you believe in what I'm doing. So that's a slightly next level of difficulty, but not so terribly complex. And I think there are many institutions like that in India, including especially even Azim Premji Foundation, for instance. They set up with their own goals and their own ideas on education, but USAID came in, others came in to support their work in the early days. And there are many examples of that. I think the third example is when donors come together to co-create a whole new model together. And again, there are many examples of that. Many knowledge institutions have come together like that in India. Some of us have set up the India Philanthropy initiative together under Azim Premji's leadership. And we basically have committed a lot of our own wealth to doing work together in certain areas. It's just getting built out, and you'll be hearing more of that as time goes by. Or, for example, Ashoka University, set up by 3 or 4 people, including Ashish Dhawan, who have managed to, the 4 donors came together to set up this idea, let's do this world-class global university, but managed to get 60 other donors to come in and sign into their idea. So that's the other kind of model. I think the fourth and interesting model for me at this stage in my work is when one donor or a set of donors comes together to create a platform on which then, in any one sector, on which other donors can do their own thing. So the platform enables different actors to do whatever they want on that platform. And Nandan and I have started something like this with EkStep in the last 1 year. This is a technology-based platform. It's technology in education, where we hope that the 200 million children who, in spite of all efforts of government, civil society, and everyone else, still require a lot of help to get their basic education outcomes right. We hope that we will be able to put this platform out in the public domain so that others can build on it, whatever content and whatever apps they want to create. So I think that is a very fascinating new emergent idea in Indian philanthropy, and I hope in many sectors people will come forward to build out platforms. In the next few months, we will know whether EkStep as a platform idea will succeed or not. Fingers are tightly crossed. But I think that's how we all need to think going forward. A technology-enabled platform that gives a kind of a core architecture at the heart of it, and which allows other philanthropists and NGOs to come and build and innovate on both sides of that hourglass structure. I'm running out of time. The last thing I think as a model for collaboration is what the state itself does. I mean, the oldest idea that we used to keep talking about was the Green Revolution, when the state invited Norman Borlaug, and the Ford and Rockefeller foundations came together to support what we now call the Green Revolution. And the state has done that many times. 2 recent examples, another old example where the state has created an entity and invited other donors is NCAER. And more recently, the BRLF, which is the Bharat Rural Livelihoods Foundation, where the government has put in some capital. I think 500 crores was supposed to be, I think 200 crores has gone in, and others like the Tata Trust, etc., have come in to put more. And this foundation is an autonomous, independent institution which is now going to work on rural livelihoods in the most backward states of India. So that's a huge idea for collaboration, if it works. So this is how I thought of how we could all find what kind of collaborative structures work best for us as we learn the ropes of giving forward. But all that is the technical stuff. I'd like to end by saying, all of you family members who are giving money, want to give more money, this is fine and you'll learn the ropes fast enough. But eventually, to me what matters is we need to be inspired. We need to do this for the right reasons. We have a society where there's so much inequity that we must Feel the connections out there. Why are we in this room when so many people who want to be here cannot possibly be? So follow your passion. Follow your passion to make the change happen, to make this a much better society. Take whatever help you need. Innovate as much as you can. But most of all, have the self-belief that intent matters. And if you want something to change, it surely will. So thank you again to all of you, and thanks to Dasra.